Hey y'all, it's Nomadic Shaman here. Thank you for visiting my page. Real quickly, funny thing, the song Aaliyah, Try Again, was playing in my head just now before I hit record. And the one part that kept on going through my head was, it's been a long time, without a dope beat to step to. And I said, what's the name of that song again? Anyhow, I went ahead and I looked it up because I needed a reminder, y'all. And it was try again. So that may be significant. Either Spirit is telling me I need to try again, or there's somebody out there who is relentlessly trying again. Good, bad, or indifferent. So take the message if it resonates. Try again, y'all. So I'm here. I'm trying it again. Um, I don't want this video to be too long, but before I start, I do have much to cover. I have downloads, I have channelings. I also have had some spirits that came to visit me that had to tell me a couple of things. And I also did some automatic writing. You know, when I want to get details, that's what I do. All right. So, anyhow, let me preface this by saying this video is for entertainment purposes. Please use your own discernment. Now, with that said, y'all, I've been gone for a while, so let me also say Happy New Year. Happy New Year. For all those who made it in 2026, Happy New Year. Now, with that, let's go ahead and dive right in, right? Another channel song I heard was Confessions by Usher. The part that I heard kept on playing in my head was, if I'm gonna tell it, then I gotta tell it all. That was a channeled song. So it sounds like somebody is going to confess. Now, this can play out in many different ways. It could be out of guilt that feels like they need to confess. It could be somebody who's looking at prison time, clink clink jail time, or even a way to avoid from going to jail or prison. They are going to confess either their part or other people's part in the shenanigans. And when I say in the shenanigans, I'm talking specifically as it relates to gang stalking operations, either their part, but more specifically, criminal acts and civil acts and or crimes against innocent people. So this is significant. Somebody's going to confess, or there may be more than one person that's going to confess because they're going to be questioned. Now, guys, make no mistake about it. I've said this time and time again. Your girl's being followed. I've gotten used to it. But not only am I being followed by covens who want to do drive-by spell work, right? People who are being paid to watch, stalk, surveil, report back to whomever's paying them. I'm also being stalked by the crazy bitch who pays these people but doesn't trust these people to do the job. So she got to do it herself. I'm speaking to Diana or Mariah or Mimi, whichever name or any other alias she chooses to go by. That too. And then private investigators, and of course the alphabet agencies. I've just become accustomed to being followed. Now, let me go back to saying, well, that's a little bit part. So when I say that, anybody who follows me is also getting followed. Okay? Make no mistake about that. Now, back to what I was going to say. If the confession song, these are my confessions, if I'm going to tell it, then I'm going to tell it all. First of all, it sounds like a spirit just joined me. I don't know if they want to tell me something, or I don't know if this is a monitoring spirit just yet. But let's focus on the video, okay? For all intent and purposes, there's a name that came up. There's actually a few names that came up. Name that I heard was Evelyn, Yvette, Jeffrey, Thomas, George. I heard Miriam. I heard Ariana. What other names did I hear? I heard Reggie. Okay, and I heard Tony Anthony. Let's go to Tony and Anthony because there's something significant. Um, Another part of the message is there's going to be arrests and arrest warrants. Okay, I've said this before. One of which arrest warrants is coming after is corrupted cops, specifically their involvement in whatever civil or criminal crime of their participation. The reason why Tony or Anthony stands out is I also remember doing a mediumship reading for Edward Mark Holmes, Eddie, the person who transitioned, okay, in 2024. And Anthony, Tony, had some type of involvement in it. I believe he was a police officer, okay? He either took money to do a cleanup, took money to look the other way, took money, bribe, rewards to what else? Clean up, shut up, look the other way. Well, you're on a hit list, okay? Your name is being talked about in rooms, in a group, so make sure you keep your head on a swivel because the reason why you're being talked about is they're coming up with different plans to take you out, okay? Consider it a warning. There you go, okay? Now, and that is for Tony, that is for Anthony, okay, who participated in or has some type of involvement in the crime connected to Edward Mark Holmes, okay? You're on a list, you're on a hit list. People are talking about different ways to take you out, okay? Moving on. Now, the next part is very interesting because I was on a work trip. Let's see what time we're on. 7:11. This is significant. I was on a work trip and I was down in the Sunshine State for this work trip, and a lot of interesting things ensued. Okay, some which were the norm, cars following me to and from the hotel or anywhere I went. Interesting, they would drive. They wouldn't look at me. They would stop and park until they felt that they caught my gaze. They would pause, then they would move on. Okay, continue on driving on. This is what some of the gang stalkers' MOs are. Okay, but what was very interesting was also, the norm with helicopters. There was a large police presence, which I was not expecting. But there was a large police presence. I didn't really tap into it to see if they were good, bad, corrupt, or whatever. But I did notice a large police presence where I was, which was very different in previous years of this work trip. What else? So I mentioned helicopters. I mentioned people driving, pausing. Okay. Another interesting thing is there was this man that I spoke to. He came up to me. I looked at his sign. His name, it showed Alexander. Okay. Now there were 3 different events that were going on where I was working at. And the first thing that he told me, which I thought was kind of weird because he had what looked like a miniature tripod. And I said, oh, that's different. And he was just holding it. And as he's walking up towards me, he says, oh, don't think that I am filming you. I'm just looking over here where there was like some apparel. So then we started getting to a conversation. He shared with me he was Philippine. And he shared with me how he did consulting work, contracts, where he would make videos, film, photography, or what have you, which I thought was interesting. He also shared with me the type of camera that he had, and he shared with me on like 2 different two different price points. And I was just like, oh, okay. I'm like, because I was really interested in the camera and never saw a camera like that. It was like a camera, video, and then a tripod all at once. Then we started talking about his nationality. I said, "Do you look Philippine? Are you Philippine? Filipino." And he was just like, "Yeah." He said, "Well, do you know people of Philippine?" I said, "Well, yeah, I do." Um, and I said, "Well, do you have any recommendations for any Filipino restaurants that are good?" Okay. And he couldn't really think of any, but he had suggested, I believe it was either a Korean spot, I believe. I believe it was a Korean spot he had suggested. And I said, okay. But truth be told, I wasn't interested in the Korean restaurant. I wanted to know what Filipino restaurants that he had to recommend. But more specifically, I wanted to know his knowledge about Filipino restaurants because this was giving me a little bit more insight as to why he chose to approach me when he did. And his choice of words, okay? And as the conversation progressed, and he's telling me the things that bore him, there's a reason why I'm going into the story. He tells me the things that he enjoyed filming, what caught his eye, to film. And he's showing me this camera. I think it was a D161, J161. I don't remember. I'll have to look it up. But he told me of a one that had a lower price point. And one of the interesting things he was telling me about was, how there were interesting promotional products. I work for a promotional products company, okay? Well, not a promotional products company, but we handle a lot of promotional products. And he's telling me how all of these interesting products that caught him by surprise and he didn't even know existed. But what was even more funny was he was filming apparel where he had mentioned that happened to be like the typical, something that you expect. So I'm thinking to myself, well, why are you filming it? This is what I'm thinking. I'm not saying it. I'm just thinking, I'm observing. And then I got to the point where, because I'm a shaman, I always have spirits around me for protection. Those who are high in rank will see them. The spirits will reveal themselves in my presence. But for others, you may not see them because they won't reveal themselves to you. But they're always around. And so we're always in communication. And so one of the things that they communicated to me was, he's not here for this show. He's here to film you. Because one of the interesting things he told me was about the camera tripod that he had, that it does tracking, where literally it will move where the subject moves based on facial recognition. And so he then proceeds to lift up the contraption, whatever the fuck you want to call it, points it at me, takes a picture. Then he does something. He clicks a few buttons, I guess to make it seem that he removed my photo, but Spirit told me that wasn't the case. That was a part of him approaching me, spark up conversation, and take a picture of me for tracking purposes at far away distances. Now, as my spiritual team is speaking to me in one ear, and I'm actively speaking to Alexander, they tell me to look at his badge. On his badge, there isn't a last name. They also told me that he never walked my company's show floor, nor did he ever walk the show floor that he suggested that I check out. But he actually entered the badge the event for the badge where he had received, right? For that event. So I'm listening to my team and I'm talking to him, and they're telling me that he's connected to Diana and he was paid as a consultant and a contractor to track me by way of his device of facial recognition, even at far away distances. Now, I don't know if Diana put you on game, but I'm intuitive. And the minute you come into my energy and we have a conversation, I can pretty much tap into anything I want to know about you. And it's primarily for my safety. I don't know if she told you that part, but you didn't have a last name. But what Spirit had showed me in our conversation was an American Idol winner. I said, Spirit, why are you showing me American Idol? And they said, Jessica Sanchez. I believe she was a winner for American Idol. They said, that's it, Sanchez. That's his last name. First name, Alexander. Last name, Sanchez. Happens to be a contractor, consultant for Diana. One interesting thing about Diana that I discovered is that she has a protective order against her, okay, concerning me. So she used to be a certain amount of distance, feet away from me. So her being anywhere close to me violates it. And Spirit informed me that this is it's ongoing. It's from 2025 and it's to last through 2027. And if law enforcement catches her around my vicinity, she's violating the protective order and she automatically goes to jail. Clink, clink, right? So that's not the end of it though. What's more interesting is Spirit didn't tell me this at first because they thought that I would wow the fuck out. So they purposely didn't tell me towards the end of my trip because I probably would have. But they had informed me that she had booked a room at the very hotel that I was in. In fact, her room was directly next to mine, 1784. Interesting. They told me when I flew out, they told me she was taking Delta. She was flying through the Dulles airport and her flight was at 9 a.m. Interesting. Interesting. So remember what I said. Everybody who follows me is also being followed. You were being followed. There were FBI agents at that event. There was also FBI agents at that hotel. I think I'll wrap up my video here. I'll see you on the next one.